Hello, my name is Anne McElhenney.
And I'm Phelim McAleer.
And welcome to the Anne and Phelim Scoop. It's week 109.
Yes, I've just had some ice cream.
Phelim's just had an ice cream thing. So what, are you going to have a brain freeze now on me?
No more happiness.
More happiness. Funny how ice cream can almost cure everything. Yes, I noticed that myself when I gave up the alcohol for Lent. And I suddenly realised that actually there is sugar in alcohol. And how I knew that was because late at night I'd be thinking, I just need something. I really need something. I know what I need. I need ice cream. And then eating ice cream really late at night. So yeah. Anyway, it is week 109 of the 2 weeks to flatten the curve lockdown. So,
and Philadelphia is bringing in a mask mandate again, don't forget.
Oh yeah,
City of Philadelphia, that great city of brotherly love.
And
so when the government
weeks,
tells you that it's 2
2
weeks, now 109 weeks later, you'll still be in the middle of the emergency.
And there's an emergency, by the way. There's still an emergency here
in
California.
Emergency. Still an emergency.
What else is happening today, Phelim?
Well, talking of Philadelphia, where they just put in the mask mandate. Big news.
Big segue.
Big news
from us.
If they can laugh about it, we can tell the truth about it. Abortion wars are taking to the stage. We are launching their verbatim Gosnell play in New York. We'll
tell you all about that and the reason why we decided to do it. And now, and in Ireland.
Tell me about Ireland, Dan.
They're specialising in learning all the wrong lessons from, as Barack Obama would call it, a teachable moment.
Yes.
Kind of an extraordinary story and something that could happen in a town near you. And we hear from another Californian escapee. I think this is becoming a regular feature here. People who move out from a blue state to a red state, or from a blue state to a red state, and how they found that journey and
that transition.
Then our last thing, and I think it's been a couple of weeks since I last cooked. I have the absolute perfect formula for the perfect summer lunch, or any day that the sun shines, or any day the sun doesn't even shine. It's my answer to fast food. Very, very healthy. Feels like fast food in terms of time, but that's the only way that it feels like fast food. Really very fabulous good recipe. Right. A kind of a non-recipe basically.
So our new project.
Big news here.
Well, yeah, I suppose we should talk first about our other big project, the My Son Hunter movie. We're very, very close to finishing the post-production. We're talking to distributors. It's about the Hunter Biden scandal. It's about the Joe Biden scandal. It's about the media malfeasance scandal. It's starring Lawrence Fox's Hunter, John James.
Joe Biden.
Gina Carano's in it. It's set in the Ukraine. Very topical. Don't forget, Hunter Biden did lots of deals with pro-Russian Ukrainian oil and gas companies in the Ukraine. Yep. Don't forget, Joe Biden bullied to try and get a prosecutor fired. He worked with a pro-Russian administration there. These are all facts, and it's a huge scandal. The media malfeasance is also a huge scandal. We're very excited to bring it to you, and we hope to have more news about when you can see it soon. But
we noticed a couple of weeks ago, we noticed a story in the New York Times.
Yes, so our attention was attracted by this article. And this is from The Hollywood Reporter. Alison Levy's summer started with a bang and ended with a visit to Planned Parenthood. It's a show called Oh God, a show about abortion.
So this is a show
critically acclaimed, apparently.
Critically acclaimed, won a big prize as the best political comedy in 2021 in New York City. Alison Levy, one of the writers behind The Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's also being produced by JJ Abrams' company.
JJ Abrams is the uber Hollywood producer who's behind a lot of the Star Wars stuff, the Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, and so what they've decided to do is they've decided to have this one-woman show, comedy about abortion, for 6 weeks in Cherry Lane Theatre in New York.
Right in the heart of really in the heart of the cool theatre district.
Basically, it's the oldest off-Broadway theatre in New York. Beautiful, beautiful theatre. This is what they're going to do. They're going to have a big laugh, a big, massive laugh about abortion. And we decided if they can laugh about it, we can tell the truth.
So as you know, we did the Gosnell movie, we did the Gosnell book, the New York Times best-selling Gosnell book about abortion doctor Kermit Gosnell. We have all the transcripts of his trial. We have the grand jury report. We've done interviews with all the main characters. So, we do verbatim plays like the Ferguson play,
FBI
Lovebirds, where we take actual comments about what people have actually said, text messages, testimony, etc. So we've done this with the Gosnell trial. We've taken his court case and the grand jury hearings and made it into a drama. And it's wow, what a drama! Like, how do you prove a man is the biggest America's biggest ever serial killer? How do you prove it when the government is doesn't want the truth be told, when the mainstream media doesn't want the truth be told, when they're refusing to cover this story, which is a story about a serial killer? So we're bringing this to a theater in New York to run at the same time as this comedy about abortion.
And our opening night will be the same night as their opening night.
They're opening for previews on the 25th. I think we're open for previews on the 28th. Our opening night's going to be May the 5th, which is their opening night. Go to gosnellplay.com and you'll see all the details, how to buy tickets, where it's going to be,
and how to help us. How to help us make this happen, because we're really responding to this extraordinary play that they're having in New York by doing this. Let's
be quite clear. It's no coincidence that this is showing now.
Yes,
this is part of a Hollywood Planned Parenthood axis of evil to normalize abortion in the run up, and to try and bully Supreme Court judges in the run up to making their decision on Roe v. Wade, which is coming up within the next couple of months.
And so we just thought, if they can laugh about it, we can tell the truth. And what we're going to do is we're going to do reenactments of moments from the trial with testimony that was given by people who were under oath, real people who were under oath under pain of perjury, were asked questions about abortion. And I think, by the way, Phelim, and I don't know if I said this to you, but I mean, it strikes me, and by the way, we've got a very educated listenership and watchers audience out there. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I would suggest this will be the first play ever on the planet Earth where the actual abortion will be described by somebody who knows exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
and who's under oath.
So
there'll be no politics in this. There'll only be evidence.
And it's verbatim. It's just taken from the trial transcripts. Mm-hmm. And if you think that it's an important point that we're making, if JJ Abrams thinks it's funny to kill babies, we think, fine, go ahead with your comedy. We're incredibly in favour of free speech. We don't want anything to happen. We're very happy for them to have their play. But we think it'd be good to balance that up by just telling the truth. We have, some of the actors that we will have will be reenacting testimony from abortion doctors who were asked under oath during the Gosnell trial to describe an abortion. Yeah. So we think that's good. That truth would be good to hear.
We'll also hear about how the story was covered up all those years, how year after year after year after year, the Department of Health in Pennsylvania turned a blind eye as body after body after body came out of Gosnell's clinic. It's an amazing story. It's a true American scandal. It's a true American serial killer story. It's got all the elements of a great drama. And
tell us the name of the website again, Phil, where people can go.
Gosnellplay.com.
Can you go there, and can you also share it, please? Can you share that site with your friends, particularly, by the way, your friends in New York? We'll be there. We'll be in New York for pretty much every one of the... Phelim will be there definitely for every last one of the performances. I'll be there for most of them as well. Please come and join us, and get your family and friends to come and join us in New York.
Yeah, we've got a beautiful studio space. We're not giving away the name of it just yet.
Yeah.
But it's a proper theatre space, and this is a proper play with proper actors, and you're going to learn something and enjoy it, and hopefully. And
I think you'll appreciate the fact that we're doing this, because I think it's important that it's the one thing that I think Planned Parenthood and comedians, like the people that JJ Abrams has employed, it's the one thing that they don't want to talk about in the abortion debate, which is abortion. They talk about everything, and it's all, and some of the jokes that they have, so funny, right? Oh, so funny. Like, actually, where's that line, Phelim, from the play there?
They asked her, does she want an ultrasound?
They asked her, did she want an ultrasound? This is one of the funny pieces in it, apparently. They asked her, does she want an ultrasound? And she says, is that like with extra fries?
Yes. It's like McDonald's supersize. Do I have to pay more for that? No, I think she was asked, do you want to know if you've got twins? And she says, does that mean I have to pay more if I have? So, yeah. Maybe in the context it's funny. I don't know. I doubt it. But anyway, let's go on.
Let me just read one line. I have to read this. And this, when you look up the information about this show by Alison Levy, which is called "Oh God, an abortion comedy." Basically.
And don't forget, our play is called. Theirs is called "Oh God, a show about abortion." Ours is called "Oh Gosnell, the truth about abortion."
So Alison Levy's summer started with a bang and ended with a visit to Planned Parenthood. In between, she had 2 root canals, a very scary trip to the fertility section of a Missouri CVS and a dozen meltdowns about what you wear to your abortion, naturally.
Yes.
And I would say there's an awful lot about that, except for the thing that they don't do, because I bet she doesn't describe an abortion, because I don't think it's that funny. But let's see. And by the way, we'll go and see that show so you don't have to.
Yes.
All right, onward, Phelim.
So yeah, so there's been 2 gay men were murdered in Sligo,
This is horrible.
Which is and it is horrible, but it's also horrible in ways you might not think. Sligo is a relatively small town near where we have a home in Ireland and near where you were born, Anne, and not that far from where I was born. And so these attacks. And they happened within days of each other. It's a small town. And these attacks were immediately used as a cudgel to attack Irish homophobia, which is apparently on the rise. And it's on the rise to such an extent that we apparently need hate crime legislation in Ireland, which would, of course, criminalise speech, not crime. The bodies were mutilated. And I remember thinking, that's not very Irish. I mean, we're more used to car bombs and...
Glassing people. That's kind of a tradition where we're from, yeah.
Not that I want to make fun. I mean, it's terrible. The 2 men were murdered. 2 men were murdered, like within days of each other.
One of them was beheaded.
Yeah, well, that's what came out later. Was one of them was beheaded, and But anyway, this was taken. Oh, we're going back to the bad old days of homophobia, as the Justice Minister Helen McEntee said. These are incidents that we thought were behind us.
Behind us. So really, beheading was a big thing in Ireland apparently in the past, was it?
Until yes.
Just extraordinary.
But anyway, then it emerged that one of the bodies was decapitated. I mean. Which I thought was a bit weird too. But anyway, we were being assured that this was all Irish-born hate.
Catholic homophobia, all of this.
Yeah. And then it turned out that they charged someone with it. Now, he's not been convicted. Maybe he's innocent. But the person they've charged is called Yusuf Palani. Is he one of the Palanis of Tober Curry, Anne?
No, Palanis now wouldn't be a big name now you'd find up around Ireland.
Oh, maybe it's more of a Galway name, is it?
Turns out he's an Iranian Kurd, but who was educated in Ireland, both through the primary school system and the secondary school system. But, we are not going to rush to judgment. The man has been charged. Obviously, there'll be a court case. But one of the things that come out of this case in Ireland is, immediately when these 2 men were killed, there was going to be a national conversation about hate.
And homophobia.
Hate speech and homophobia and about hate and all this. And national conversation. We actually think, right, that there should be a national conversation, but not necessarily about hate speech and certainly not about homophobia. Ireland can say, if they like, that it's not a homophobic country. And I think it's important maybe to point out that Ireland in 2015 had a referendum on gay marriage, which was overwhelmingly voted in favour of by progressive Ireland. 62% of the population voted in favour of that. So this is not a homophobic country. In fact, if anything, the word progressive is the one that you could use in relation to Ireland.
Yes.
But what's really interesting is that
if we're going to have a national
conversation, the thing to have a national conversation about is perhaps the fact that we have this very lax immigration system in Ireland where we're inviting in people who come from places where they have very, very particular thoughts about the gay lifestyle.
Most of them include throwing them off buildings, which is a very Iranian way to die, actually, if you're...
exactly.
Yes.
And actually beheading as well, and honour killings.
I forget
and all
that.
of this. So that, Ireland, they love the diversity. Like Ireland, oh God, they're all loving the diversity. They're loving the whole idea of the different food and the costumes and people doing special dance. And you know what? I'm all into it myself. The bit I'm not into, though, is the idea of people being invited to live in Ireland who think that it is okay to throw a gay person off a building for just being gay, or think it's okay to genitally mutilate women, or think it's okay for an honour killing where a girl in a house might be a bit of a wild young one, and the family teach her a lesson, a lesson that she doesn't get to live to remember, where they just murder her. So this is where these people are coming from. And by the way, I think we should have a national conversation about it. I think we should have an international conversation about it, because maybe it's a thing that diversity always is not our strength, and that in fact diversity could be very problematic if the diversity you're looking at is people who think very, very differently about how to live and how to be free.
Whoever thought that diversity makes you stronger? I mean,
it sounds good though. It sounds good.
But when you think about it, actually, it's more likely to make you weaker. Diversity.
Well, I don't know. I think it sounds good.
A united group of people who share similar values and similar outlooks and similar. They'll get more done than a bunch of people who have different viewpoints.
Well, who disagree about everything.
Yeah.
Now, and by the way, disagree about fundamentals.
And the thing is, diversity, as you say, does come with nice restaurants, a lot, although I think Ethiopian food is overrated. Controversial. It does come with nice food, but I mean, it also comes with a side dish of beheadings and decapitations and other side dishes that you just don't want. So
anyway, I think it's, to be honest, it's a very, very sad story.
It's a very
There's
sad
two
story.
really lovely men, like everybody talking about them said that these two guys were really, really nice.
Yeah.
And very, very well known in Sligo. One of them was involved in politics. Really awful thing to happen.
And
I mean,
now they're dead.
And I think the cops, I think it's coming out in dribs and drabs, but basically the cops in the area are fairly devastated by what they discovered when they discovered the bodies.
Yeah.
This man had targeted them. The way that this was discovered, they were targeted in online chat rooms or whatever about meeting up for sex or whatever, and they arranged to come and for this man to come to their home, and they invited him in, and he butchered them to death, and really just a horrible, horrible story. But I think it's an example of Ireland paying a very, very high price. These two men paying a very, very high price for some political decisions that were made by elitists in Dublin who think that diversity is the only thing, is an absolute good. Let's put it that way. That it's an absolute good, and you have to always embrace diversity. You don't actually. Here's what I think. I think some cultures are better than others. There you go. There's a controversial thing to say. I think, the old Christian idea of love one another as I have loved you and do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself. It's a pretty good way to go. It's a pretty nice way to go.
Not throw a person off rooftop of building.
Do not decapitate somebody whose lifestyle you disagree with, Do something else, But don't, you don't murder people who disagree with you. Anyway, it's a terrible story. And an example of, government, politics matters.
Yes. So let's go where you're going to talk into politics. You're going to go now. And you talked to a Californian escapee, one of the many hundreds of thousands who have left this native.
176,000 who left last year.
Yes. So
I'm not talking to all 176. I'm going to talk to one, Lily Edwards, our friend, who has moved from California to Coeur d'Alene. Let's go over to that right now. Hello. We're now joined by our friend, Lily Edwards.
Hi, Anne.
How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, that's great. So, Lily, we've started this new feature on our podcast, talking to people who have left from blue states to go to freer red states about why they did it and what they found. So, first of all, tell us, where were you living and where have you gone?
Okay, so my family and I were living in Los Angeles, California. Both my husband and I are natives to LA, and we moved in 2020 with our 3 young kids to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
That's in the Arctic Circle. Am I right about that?
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, you have a thing called weather there. We're going to get on to that. Before I get there, why would you leave beautiful California with the gorgeousest weather in the whole world?
Yes.
And people, I think something we've noticed, by the way, is there's a nail, the last nail in the coffin or whatever. There's the last thing that just says done. What was yours? What happened to make you make this massive move?
That's such a loaded question, but frankly, our conversation to leave Los Angeles anyway has been in the works for a very long time. But certainly, which is always hard because we have kids and because our whole family is there, and there's a lot, we have a lot invested in California and Los Angeles specifically. Definitely COVID turned everything upside down. And I had my 3rd baby right at the top in March of 2020, which was a complete whirlwind. And then with school shut down, and it became very clear very quickly that our approach to COVID and the lockdowns and everything we were following didn't align with how we wanted to raise our family. It's a very nice way of putting it. So, when the schools were shut down and our son, who was going to be going into kindergarten, we didn't know what the next year at least was going to look like for him. And then our daughter, our middle child, was going to be starting her school at some point in the near future. everything was grim. We actually, both of my husband and I were out of work at the time because of COVID. We had a new baby, and there was just a lot up in the air. And it kind of felt like, well, for this conversation that we've been having since before we even had children, this seemed like the right time to talk about it again. And then it was, and then of course there were the riots. There was a whole, Los Angeles was a big mess at the spring and summer of 2020. In August, so then we started to think about where we were going. And in August of 2020, I came up to Coeur d'Alene just to see, and never set foot here. And my husband put a lot of trust in me to say, you can see us there.
Yeah, right,
If you're going to be happy, then we'll make the leap. Coming up here and seeing that it was essentially like a pre-COVID land was hugely promising. Yes. And also beautiful. So as difficult as it is to leave California and Los Angeles and all our family and all our friends and the beach and all the weather or the non-weather, I should say, it felt like the move we had to do. If there was a nail in the coffin moment, it would have been the last day of my son's preschool. This is when the masks were required. Now, my son went to probably one of the most expensive preschools in the city. It was walking distance from our house. We lived in a very sought after neighborhood of West LA with a park just down the street to one side, my son's preschool, and a slew of coffee shops and restaurants to the other side. I mean, we really had it a mile away from my mom. Like, we really had a really pretty fantastic situation there. And at picking up my son from preschool, we have a group of kids being picked up, all masked, preschool children being picked up from school. And just on the other side, we actually had to walk by this person, a drunk, strung out, homeless man, yelling right there next to all the 5-year-olds. Yeah. And I think at that point, we had probably made the decision to leave, but it became very clear. It was like we have absolutely made the right decision. And for all of the heartbreak that it gave us to leave our friends, to leave our family, we were like, well, this is certainly not the environment we want for our kids.
And so when did you leave? What's the date that we're talking about now?
So now so I came up here as for like a 36-hour visit with my 4-month-old in August. And we were in our moving truck driving up through California, literally through fire, California and Oregon in the beginning of September. So of course, one thing that immediately strikes me is that one of the previous guests we had said, before you move somewhere, you should go there in the worst weather. So you actually did the very wrong thing of going to Coeur d'Alene at the best possible time of year, which would be August, I imagine. You have 3 children under the age of 5, am I right? At the time, they were 5 and under, yeah.
Did you all drive together then?
Actually, yes and no. My husband and I caravanned. We got a moving truck that we rented. We packed 2, just stacked as much as we could. We got rid of a ton of stuff before we left. So my husband and my oldest son drove the truck. Me and my infant drove our car, and we caravanned up. And then it actually worked out really well. My mom flew up with our daughter and met us here. So we spared her the drive. Lucky her. And then, so we drove up and we did it in 2 days, which I actually wouldn't recommend to any sane person.
Okay. But. Yes. Well, yeah. What are the main differences that you've noticed? What's the big things that you've noticed that are different there?
There are so many. I will say it is absolutely gorgeous.
Okay,
it's
we're looking
absolutely
at these.
Gorgeous. I think that when we were considering where we were going, we certainly wanted to be inspired by our surroundings. And Coeur d'Alene doesn't disappoint. We have lakes, we have forest and mountains, and it's really, really beautiful.
Give me a real standout in terms of people experience.
Okay, well, I could paint, this is great. This is a great picture. So Idaho, as we know, it is a red state. Coeur d'Alene specifically is probably, or North Idaho, is the reddest part of this red state.
Yes, I think we know that. Yeah. Tell us what that looks like.
So the first thing that comes to mind is guns. Not gonna lie.
What does that mean?
So it's actually, so we have, there's a huge streak of patriotism through this area. And it really is, which is really incredible. People here, we love America, we love our country, we love and respect each other as individuals, which obviously is really tied into a love of America and everything America stands for. Our rights are also individual rights, civil rights are also really big here. So people are big on all, Second Amendment, really big. First Amendment, the Bill of Rights it also means that people really respect each other in a way that, I think in some bluer states perhaps, people don't really always understand what that means. Mm-hmm. And even for me, that's been a learning curve to really understand what it means to be proud of America. It's a really positive thing. Yeah. And that is, I would say, one difference between LA and here is that that's not always seen as a positive thing in Los Angeles, sadly. Yeah. So I can paint a really great picture for you here, actually. During June of 2020, when we were having the BLM riots throughout LA, Coeur d'Alene was actually one place that didn't have riots. Now we are about 30 minutes from Spokane, Washington, which is the biggest city close to us. And that's definitely a city. Mm-hmm. They were having riots, and there were actually people, BLM protesters, or BLM rioters, I won't say protesters, BLM rioters who were planning to come to Coeur d'Alene. And Coeur d'Alene Idahoans got wind of that, and they all lined Sherman Avenue, which is the main drag, it's the main street downtown in Coeur d'Alene, with their armory. And they were there not to cause trouble. They were there to fend off any rioters. Mm-hmm. And there were BLM supporters there, as well as people just there to stand guard of their shops and the street and the city and the people. And they were all there peacefully with their guns because they knew they had the right to be there. And as a result, those rioters from Spokane never came to Coeur d'Alene. Yeah. And yeah. So that, I say, really paints a picture of the kind of people here. There are gardeners, there are farmers, there are ranchers, there are families of all ages, and a lot of retirees. It's a big golfing community. But at the end of the day, people here love America, and they fly their flags, and they fly Trump flags, and they fly Biden flags. And those two live next door to each other in harmony, which is really incredible. Yeah, well, I'm talking to you from Venice, California, where I think putting out a Trump sign might mean the house would get burned to the ground. Totally. Let's go to the question that will be on anybody's mind, which is, let's go to weather. Let's go there right now. So you arrived in okay weather, I'd imagine. You've seen the seasons now. Tell us about the weather in Coeur d'Alene. Yes, definitely. Everyone laughs. See, that's the problem. That's already the problem there, right? There's a big laugh when you talk about weather and Idaho, and particularly northern Idaho. It is. It's the number one question on everyone's mind. How do you do it? And it's funny. I don't know if having young children makes it easier or harder, because there's a novelty. They are so excited. The moment it starts to snow, it is so exciting for them. So I get to live a bit vicariously through them. We go sledding and build snowmans and throw snowballs and everything. The summer is really hard to beat, and the summer is hard to beat here. And it gives me a lot of nostalgia and sweet memories from California. I will tell you, the beach life here is thriving. And that was really fun to see. The cold it lasts definitely longer than anyone wants it to. The snow is really fun.
I think it'd be good to define cold,
Yes.
by the way. I think it's very important to define cold for people, you know, because obviously I'm in California and I'm always amused. I'm always telling people, you know, that the weather forecast guys here will do this thing of oh, it's in the early 50s today, you know, and they make a big drama of that. So give us a picture now. What do you call, what do you people up there in Idaho call cold?
Yeah, we Idahoans, and now I'm a real Idahoan now. So today is about 40, and it's sunny.
Balmy, basically balmy, is it?
But I will say, it's sweater weather.
Oh, look at you! Yeah. Look at you!
I know.
Sweater weather rather than full Eskimo, is it?
Exactly right.
Because so let's get the full Eskimo now. Let's tell the people how cold does it get?
Oh yeah, so in January, which is known, I guess, as the coldest month here, we were well down in the single digits. Now we really don't get below 0 except at night. So it's not, you know, single, but you know, I love it. Like when the weather app says it's 5 degrees, but it feels like -5. Like what's really the difference? You know, let's be honest. Right. So it's all bad.
And wind chill, and wind chill,
and wind chill
right?
is the killer.
And by the way, for us, by the way, being like from Ireland, like, so, you know, when you talk about negative, whatever, that's sub-zero, that's, you know, that's below freezing, right? Way, way below freezing. Like we're talking in centigrade, probably about -20. So, you know, you could, I don't know what, So how does, like, what happens? Like, and did it happen quickly, by the way? Does it happen quickly? Does the cold arrive like tomorrow? And you were like wearing your sweater today and tomorrow you need the Eskimo outfit? Or is it quick or is it slow?
It's quick. In my opinion, it's quick. But here's the wildest thing. And I've seen this like meme and elsewhere, but it's so true of Idaho. There are not 4 seasons. There's about 15 seasons. I will say, I do appreciate that you get at each one for just a little bit of time.
Right.
Unfortunately, the cold is really like, when it's sunny, that's really hard. So springtime, I think, is really difficult because it's sunny. And so it looks so fun because you've been so sick of sitting inside for the winter. And then it's sunny and you're like, oh, it's sunny. It's so beautiful. Let's go out and play. But it's 30 degrees, 35 degrees. It's just not quite comfortable outside play weather. So that's hard. But we also have days, like I think we had one just last week, where we have sun and then hail and then a thunderstorm and then snow and then it's sunny again.
That's like
a
Ireland.
Real thing.
That's like Ireland, where they have all this, they talk about having all the seasons in the one day, you know?
Yep.
So what about food? Let's hear about food, because obviously Californians are always obsessed with the food and with their, you know, their arugula and all these incredible essentials, and, you know, obviously keto things and things that other people in other parts of the world have never really heard of that are terribly important to us, like the avocado and all of that. And I'm probably using very old terms here, but talk about the food there then.
Okay, so Coeur d'Alene is not known for its food. Shocker. It's not, but so one thing that we definitely don't have, or it's not that we don't have, but we are lacking a little bit, is really good Mexican food. And coming from Southern California, that is one of those really difficult things to give up. Mm-hmm. We're searching for it, but there is sushi. There is, I can't tell you what is authentic North Idaho food. Okay. I don't know.
But I imagine there's a lot of hunting there, and probably because of the lakes, there's a lot of fishing, right? So I would imagine fresh fish must be a really, like, that's something wonderful that you can probably get.
And in fact, there are some great sushi restaurants, which is really exciting to me. Coming from, I was afraid I was going to have to give up sushi, but and there's actually an incredible Indian restaurant. We actually have a fair amount of cuisine. You just have to know where to look. But yes, hunting is a big deal. So, elk and all of that, which I'm not a big fan of. Probably the city girl in me really comes out when I don't like the elk. But anyway, but there has been such an influx of people here, and as much as we didn't know we were part of this wave, as big of a wave as it was, we didn't know, and like everyone else that comes in, we really want to say, well, the door shut behind us, there's no more room for anyone else. The one positive thing, though, if there is one, is that people are bringing their cuisine with them. So I think there are a lot of new restaurants popping up, people investing in the good quality food. And so hopefully that's in our future.
Yeah, and I'd be curious. I'm wondering. I'm not sure you probably know this, but obviously 176,000 Californians left California last year. I wonder how many Californians arrived in northern Idaho, but people from other places as well. You've noticed an influx of people, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's actually, you know, and it's funny. I've only been met with friendly faces. People have been really nice to me. I think the one time that I experienced any anger from anyone else, I think it was before we changed our license plate on our car and we still had California plates. That was a big deal. Yeah. And I think I got a little bit of road rage from somebody as a result. Yeah. So, but what's funny is that when you're here, you realize, just like LA is really a city of transplants, North Idaho is really a city of retired Californians.
Yes. Well, by the way, and by the way, one of our neighbors here, one of the neighbors that we lived on our actual street here, who came out one day, I think 2 years ago now, came out of her house, saw a woman, a homeless woman, come and defecate on the street here, which is a very, very quiet street. She went back into her house and bought a house sight unseen in Coeur d'Alene that day.
Wow.
And she has moved there. And by the way, that brings up an issue that I want to kind of touch on for a moment. Property, because I imagine also, by the way, obviously property is going to be cheaper there. However, with this massive influx of people, it probably has increased prices. Tell us a little, if you can, about the property situation. What did you do? Did you rent? Did you buy? Did you sell? Did you, what? Tell us a little about that picture.
Sure. So when we got up here, we rented right away. We knew a lot of people were buying sight unseen. And when I had come up here with, for my little scouting trip, I did look at houses to buy. We didn't know what we didn't know at that point. And so we just decided our biggest priority is getting out of LA, getting into Coeur d'Alene. So let's get the house we can get. And we found actually a great house for us to rent. Again, we didn't quite know the extent of this wave of people coming in. So we came in here, and then all of a sudden, because you're right, it's much more affordable here comparatively, but all of a sudden there was this huge boom. And I mean, certainly we didn't expect that. And so we kind of felt like for a moment, we got a little priced out of the competition. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of people coming in from California, from Washington, Oregon, with crazy cash offers, well above asking. I mean, things were sitting for a hot minute for, maybe a week. It was really nuts. And so we have kind of settled into the house we're renting. And it's looking like things are balanced, or at least calming down a little bit. Right. And so we did choose to wait. We know a ton of people who have bought and sold in the short amount of time that we've even been here. We were just not in the right position to do that at the time. And we thought, let's just play it safe. Mm-hmm. And then it looks like playing it safe. Who knows? But we're here for the ride, and it feels like we're here for the long haul. So I don't know, but it's been totally crazy.
So you're a young, ex-Californian girl. Obviously Californian girls do all kinds of very Californian things. And you're not just a Californian girl, you're like generationally Californian. What of those things have you missed? Do they have those things in California that they had in California up there? What do they not have?
There's a lot that they do have, though.
Yes, different things. Yeah.
There's a lot to miss about California. There's and LA, especially because we moved from a big city to a small town. Mm-hmm. The same kind of cultural activities do not exist here. There's no big museum. There's no big theater. There's, the things that I really did enjoy about living in a city don't really exist here. That said, we moved during COVID. So looking back to our life in LA before we moved here, when we think about the things we missed, those things weren't even in existence anymore, mm-hmm. basically. So it didn't really feel like a huge sacrifice to give that up. And like I said, we're really close to Spokane. So going there when all of that comes back. I'm a dancer. I've always been a dancer. I love going to class and taking class. And one thing that didn't exist here when I moved was a solid community of classes for adults, dance classes. So that didn't exist. And that was also something that in LA, everything shut down. And even still, the studio I used to go to, now they have all sorts of mask and vax requirements and everything. So even if we were still there, it wouldn't be something I could really partake in. So here I was really fortunate to then be able to start a dance class myself to fill that void. I was like, well, if I can't go take a class, I guess I'll just teach it. That was really awesome to be able to tap into the community that way. Yeah.
That's
so,
great.
And I'm just
thinking about your children. So the children are not masked there, is that right? And
Correct.
What about a requirement for them to be vaccinated to go to school?
No. In fact, Idaho, most lenient states for medical freedom and for vax exemption for children in school in general. So that's a very easy thing. And so the mask thing and the vax thing are two really big things, of course. Yes. When we moved here, my son was just about to start kindergarten. And at the time, there actually was a mask mandate for the public schools here. We were not happy with it, but we dealt with it because we knew already moving in that there was a huge fight against it. And so emotionally or mentally for us, the biggest difference between being in LA up against this huge, mammoth wall of the mask mandate and being here in a much smaller community with much more like-minded people, we knew that even if he had to go in for the 3 hours a day that was kindergarten at the time, there was enough of a fight against it that school would be the only place he had to wear it. And it was short-lived. We got rid of it partway through the year. And it was the only place he'd have to do it. There was indoor dining, there were all of the things, and everything was mask free. There were recommendations and but it was really incredible. My son, we could have play dates, we could make friends, we could have normal interactions. Whereas in Los Angeles, I was walking down the street with my kids in our neighborhood, just on a walk one day, and was accused on 2 separate occasions, was accused of child endangerment because I nor my child was wearing a mask. Oh God. Yeah. So here, that's not a thing. People, some people chose to wear them. Some people still do choose. Yep. But again, back to the respect thing and, the respecting individuality. It doesn't come with that judgment, at least externally. Yeah. So
a lot of us feel that there's really no hope for California. And, they got away with this extraordinary thing. I mean, there's still we're in an emergency still here, whatever number 2 years and counting, we're in some kind of emergency still. Obviously they've lifted the masks a fair bit, but the things that's happening with children is just really, really appalling. So, you should feel really proud of having done what you did for your children, because this is insanity that children would be masked, that children would be forced to be vaccinated for something that doesn't affect them. I mean, it's really just really, really, really horrible.
My husband and I both have had quite a bit of a struggle. I probably more than he, because it's taken me a solid year to really feel at home, established here, and we both, we came up here, we started our own business. We started creating a kids show. He's become very involved in local politics here. And, it's been really amazing. I often feel terrible because we're both from California, having not stayed to fight the fight, and I think that's really important. And I feel so proud of all my friends who have done that and who have stayed and said, we're going to stand up to this and see it through. And I think that if we didn't have young kids, our story would probably be a lot different. Yes. We really did this for them. Yes. And
And I'm actually really glad, by the way, I'm really glad you just mentioned about the children's show that you guys have started producing, because we'd like to know more about that. And if you could, we're going to put the link up on the screen here of how people can find the show, where they can find the show and all of that. Tell us a little bit about the show before I have one more question then about your move.
We started a production company called 𝙎𝙤𝙤 Media, and we create a children's show called Mopsy.
Here I am. Today, I am at Independence Point in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Today, in the United States of America, it's Flag Day. Oh my goodness! Do you see what I see? We found a black bear. Wowee! Hi, Black Bear.
It exists on mopsy.tv and on YouTube. And it is a entertaining educational show geared towards children aged 2 to 6. And it is really female driven. That is kind of one of the inspirations behind it. There's so much, children's content out there, and we wanted to make it wholesome and positive and educational. We certainly are trying to have a focus on, we did a whole Flag Day episode on America and American values and pushing that. So we have one season complete, and we are planning a second.
Can you believe, by the way, I mean, I knew about your show, and by the way, what extraordinary timing for you guys. There are a lot of parents across America hungry for your content. And so we will put that up on the screen, and that is incredibly important. I'm really glad I mentioned that. My last question to you is, for people who are thinking of moving, who are in a blue state, who are in somewhere like Seattle, they're in, they're here in California, they're in New York, who are thinking of making this move and getting away from, blue and leftist ideology to go to somewhere freer, somewhere redder. What are your tips? What is your big advice to people?
Yeah, so this is a really big one and really important. And I'm really glad you asked this question. So one thing that we have really noticed, and in fact, it really ties into the work that my husband's doing now, people move from blue to red because, exactly like you said, they want something freer. They want, a different set of values, either for themselves, for their kids, for their community, which is really important. And I think that the biggest thing people should keep in mind is knowing what they are leaving, why they are leaving it, and what they are moving to. There is a lot of concern here. It's really interesting, actually, because this area in particular, it does seem to run so red. There is concern for the people moving in, that they're coming in trying to change Idaho, trying to change Coeur d'Alene. But what we have learned, and we've learned it a lot in our involvement with local politics, which is also another huge tip. Where you move, get involved, get to know who your representatives are, get to know what's going on in your school board. All of the local politics are so important, especially for smaller communities. But it's the people that are moving here, the people like us who are moving here from a blue state, who know exactly why we left. And we feel like it is our duty to be vigilant, to say, this is what we left, and we don't want to see it happen here.
Yes.
Most of the people who have been here for a lifetime, as much as they are proud Idahoans, many of them are complacent. And they're saying, that will never happen here. That's great. There's no CRT. This isn't going to happen, And it is happening. And they don't know that because they really are taking for granted that they live in such a red state. So my biggest tip for anyone who truly, truly wants to leave the blue and go to the red for the very reason of values is to stay vigilant, stay aware, get involved. In fact, if I could just do like one more plug for a moment.
Please.
My husband, Matt, he now runs an organization called Citizens Alliance of Idaho, which is a 501c4 political organization. And their entire intent is to hold legislators accountable to what they stand for per a pledge that is tied to the American Constitution and the Constitution of Idaho, to say this is why we elected you, and this is what you need to adhere to. And it's amazing, and it's amazing to see him be so involved, speaking to legislators daily. Great. And really getting to know the inner workings, even down to touring our local elections office, to make sure that things are done in a safe way, a secure way. So
I like that idea that you have there. And so people who move from a blue state to a red state for the very reasons of values should go to those red states and fight for the protection of those values.
Exactly.
Like those freedoms that you're talking about. Okay, listen, I love this, and I'm so happy for you, Lily, and you look fabulous. And
thank you.
And we've had a chance to look at the photographs. We put them up on our screen of how beautiful it is where you live there. There's a lot more of you out there, people moving to, and I think it's a really interesting part of our podcast that we're doing now. So we're going to be doing this as people, and these stories are they're just very inspiring and very interesting. And some of them, as you say, there's these similarities that are very interesting in everywhere people go. And I love that thing that I love, and it's worrisome too. That thing that when people move from a blue state, the neighbors, when they see you drive in with your California, number plates, they're like, and they're not that happy. So what you need to do is make it very, very clear, who you are. In any possible way you can do that. I think obviously simple things like putting out a flag. In some cases, people put out things like, a Let's Go Brandon flag or whatever. Immediately tell people who you are. And I imagine as well, we're definitely going to end now because we're running out of time. But the other thing is I was talking to somebody else who's saying about how Nextdoor is so different. The Nextdoor app, the Nextdoor community, which I'm part of here in Venice, I really hate it now. I don't get on it anymore because it upsets me so much. And then I spoke to somebody recently who had moved to Utah, and she was saying that the Nextdoor is so nice, that people are so nice on their Nextdoor. Are you on Nextdoor there?
Yes, and that's so true. It's really refreshing, actually, that, the biggest issue is what kind of spider is this?
Oh yeah, I love that. That's right. The last guest, she said that on Nextdoor, the big thing was that 3 horses. There's 3 horses loose on the highway.
Yes, exactly. We had a cow at Walmart. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, actually, very quickly. You've got a Walmart near you then?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah. And do you have a Costco?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God, between us and all harm. Obviously, I'm a Costco girl, so these things are very important. So, yeah. All right. Listen, Lily, that is really great. Thank you so much. We're going to keep in touch, and we're really happy for you that it's all working out.
Thank you.
In your new piece of paradise.
Thank you, Anne. So good to be here, and thanks for the chat.
That's great. Thank you. And actually, it's funny, after I did the interview with Lily, she actually texted again afterwards and said, she'd just been outside with the kids, and she was saying, that she really hadn't emphasized quite how severe the weather can be there. And she said there was a really big wind blowing or whatever. But I think all in all, I think she's really happy. On now. I think she's really happy with
severe weather. Like, went down to the 60s yesterday here. Like,
don't talk to us.
And there was a wind. That's right. There was a wind.
Oh, yeah, Lily, don't be complaining to us about your severe weather here. We've been in the 60s here. We've suffered. Yes. We know about suffering. We know about the cold.
Well, apparently overnight it went into the 50s, but I don't,
Oh, well, that's a rumor. But I mean, I'm not even going to allow. I'm not going to talk about.
So what have we got on the menu today, Anne?
So I'm doing this. I just think this is a really great idea for, basically I call this fast food. This is my version of fast food. And you can do this too. And any of you who are out there who say to yourself, I can't cook, rubbish. Everyone can cook. You just got to get a little bit motivated. So what I've decided this is what I do. This is kind of our real go-to meal that we have here. And you can do this for guests. You can do it for yourself. You can do this in the summer and have it with like the crispest glass of white wine. Some of us have been off the alcohol for Lent, so I'm talk about that with a lot of feeling, let's say. Mm-hmm. So with a lovely glass of white wine. So basically what we got here is a beautiful piece of salmon I got from Trader Joe's. Very nice piece of salmon. And you see how nice and fatty that is. It's a lovely fatty piece of fish. Obviously super, super healthy fish this, and super, super clean. I love this clean food. And what I'm going to do here is, you see what's happening here. I have fallen in love with this air fryer. So actually, and by the way, and this is actually, there's a lesson within a lesson here in this particular recipe, because I forgot to do something. And don't ever feel like when you make a mistake with a recipe, all is not lost. You can just do the thing you were meant to do, whatever. Keep on improvising and things will be fine. So I got the piece of fish. Always what you do is you dry that with some kitchen paper. Good dry. Season. Then pepper and salt. Nice and pepper and salt. Nice kosher salt there.
Can I ask a question? Why is that called seasoning?
Seasoning can be anything. It can be all kinds of things.
But it's generally salt and pepper, isn't it?
No, it can be all kinds of...
When I watch Gordon Ramsay, he's always talking about seasoning.
Well, salt and pepper are the staples if in our part of the world. Obviously, the Asians use other stuff like soy sauce, which is basically pepper and salt, except for in liquid form. But basically, the air fryer, I've heated that air fryer up to 400. And we're going to cook this. It's going to take so little time. The biggest problem with cooking fish, only problem you'll ever have with cooking fish, is overcooking fish. So keep a good eye on it. And it's very hard for me to give you a good timing thing on this. But if you look at the size of that piece of salmon there, I'm going to give that about 6 minutes. And again, look at the air fryer there. I gave a good spray of oil into the air fryer so it won't stick. Oh, you did?
You sprayed it before?
Yeah, so it won't stick, basically. That's all that's going on there. Put that in. Do not disturb it. It does not need to be turned over or any of that kind of thing. It's going to get this lovely heat all over in the air fryer, up and down and inside out. And then take it out, test it, particularly if yours is a bit thicker than mine or thinner than mine. Just open up the air fryer and put a fork into it. I had this topping all prepared, and that was a little bit of whole grain Dijon with some honey. And I don't even want to tell you the quantities, because what I would say is it depends on your palate. I like things to be more on the savory side, but I would say I did an equal part. The ratio was like equal parts. So 2 tablespoons, for example, of whole grain with about 2 tablespoons of honey, but it's not very exact. And if you like it sweeter, go sweeter. And just paint that on, put it in. As I said, we're talking about 6 minutes. What I decided to serve this with today was a really nice fresh salad, gorgeous salad. I put some just mixed leaves and some arugula, some goat's cheese. I threw in a few blackberries. I'm loving blackberries in salads, by the way. And always when you've got blackberries, before you eat them, keep them out on the kitchen surface and let them come to a room temperature. It totally changes the flavour of all berries, actually. They need to not be eaten directly out of the fridge. So take them out. Beautiful fresh salad, really nice and light. And this delicious fish. And you see what I did in the oven there. I didn't even bother but you'll see I'm just pulling that out now. I just did some simple potatoes and some Brussels sprouts. With the potatoes, by the way, I just par-cooked them in the microwave first, just to take a little bit of the cooking off them. And then they were cooked about, I would say, 10 minutes in a very hot oven, in a 400-degree oven. And you saw I always throw in, I always do it. I cut up a little bit of bacon and throw that in just for the gorgeousness of it. And a few of those Brussels sprouts. Beautiful, beautiful lunch. And you bring people over for that lunch and they'll think you're a genius. And I can't tell you how much, these things of, the way people write these lists of like things that make me really, really happy in life. Nothing makes me more happy than putting a fork through that salmon, obviously marrying you, Phelan. Happiest thing that ever happened to me. Best thing that ever happened to me. Second best thing that ever happened to me.
I had to make that. I had to beg for that one.
Sorry, second best thing that ever happened to me. Now we're on the subject of best things that ever happened to people. Second best thing that ever happened to me was meeting Magdalena 𝙎𝙤𝙤. And we have more to say about that next week on the podcast, because Magdalena 𝙎𝙤𝙤 will be joining us as the person moving from blue to red. And by the way, I can hear cats in the background going nuts. We'll put up a few photographs there. Magda caught one of the cats earlier this morning and he had gone into one of the suitcases. I said to her, there's the photographs of the cat in the suitcase, by the way. And the minute I saw him, it was Mr. Top Cat, by the way. I thought, oh God, we could be in trouble, because of course I don't know what your cats do at home, but cats in suitcases are usually very bad because they punish you for leaving. And I had just been away in Florida and I worried that cat was putting a deposit in there to remind me not to leave.
Yes.
But things that make me very happy in this life, putting a fork through that beautiful salmon, it just flakes away. Watch it like a hawk. I would say about 6 minutes, but keep looking. And when it's just right, it's so perfect. And all you need to serve that with is a salad. And you'll be so happy. And by the way, it's so good for you. So do not eat French fries, fried anything, and burgers when you can make your own fast food.
I don't think Anne is talking to the audience there. I think she's talking to an audience of one.
No, by the way, I'm talking to myself, because sometimes when you're really tired, like last night, Phelan, we were really tired. I had just got back from Florida really late at night. And by the way, that's an interesting story in itself. Came back on JetBlue. Wasn't it JetBlue I came on? And I don't know if you saw that. So JetBlue are offering their workers $1,000 if they will turn up for work for the next 3 months. They're going to give them a bonus. And I can tell you I would appreciate if they would do that, by the way, because I got back from JetBlue. The flight was delayed. It got in, whatever. It landed at 11 o'clock. At midnight, I just got the bag at midnight. Wow. So horrible. But anyway, listen. Think about the nice things. So cook that salmon. It'll make you so happy. White wine, a little salad, and those vegetables in the oven. Perfect. Food. You enjoyed it, didn't you?
I concur with that message.
And so please, just again to summarise at the end, can you please go to gosnellplay.com? Is that correct?
Buy the tickets. Send the link to anyone you might think is interested, and you can support us.
And just support us.
Help us make it happen.
We're making a point here.
They have Hollywood millionaires like JJ Abrams and billionaires.
I
probably
think is the technical term.
Supporting them. Money is no object for them. We need your help to make this, to get the truth out there. So gosnellplay.com.
Very point, Philip, let me just mention the point that abortion charities last year brought in almost $2 billion. That's the kind of money that
pro-abortion.
They have. Pro-abortion. Yeah, pro-abortion charities. And Planned Parenthood, as you probably know, has just recently, in the last month or two, received the largest single donation they've ever received, $250 million, from Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, which she wanted directed just to minority communities. You know, does she have any idea? Like that's
of the history of abortion.
I think it's actually called. That's another word for genocide.
Or eugenics.
Or eugenics, which is fulfilling, by the way, the role of Planned Parenthood. That's exactly what. You see, we could keep on talking.
It's good that they end as they began. Okay.
We have to stop. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you
next time.
All the best.
Talk to you soon.
Luck.
Bye.
Bye.